everyone, are you well? I picked up this random lot of goodies from the local thrift store the other day and was originally going to make a spaceship. I'd separated what I thought I may need for the spaceship build, which left me with this. Then I was watching The Matrix, the original Matrix, which starring all-round nice guy and action hero Keanu Reeves. Not the new version, which I had to stop halfway through because I had no idea what the hell was going on with it. It must have played on my mind because that night I dreamt about The Matrix, and especially the scene where Keanu wakes up inside the pod and you see he's in all that sort of gooey, oozy stuff, and you see loads of other people inside these pods with all that ooze. Well, long story short, basically what I'm going to do is make a robot that sucks all the life force out of the ground and living things, and then clones human beings inside the machine that he's in. So basically I'm making a robot that is a cloning machine. Long story short, just in case anybody's thinking that I'm going to start waffling on like The Matrix and nobody understands, I've made a robot drone I've affectionately called Red. So let's start scratching that build. To kick off the build, I'm going to strip down the toy motorbike and a toy helicopter, and then I'm going to move on to these Nerf guns, which I've taken apart and going to use as the legs. I need Red to be self-standing with no camera trickery, basically me sticking sticky tack to the bottom of the feet for the glamour shots. So the greebly that came from the yellow gun shall be the sole of his foot, which I will stick the green bit onto. I repurposed the innards of the trigger to make these pistons looking things that I stuck to the top and added the spring for visual effect. I broke down a pen so then I could use that as the tube for the kebab stick that's going through this to then join it to the main body. To cover the gaps of the back of the leg, I used these helicopter tyres. With half the body on, my centre of gravity was all Friday night stumbling out of a bar at 3 AM, or more politely put, skew whiff. So I used the barrels as supports, which worked out rather nicely as it also covered the holes in the back of the legs. I used more greeblies to hide the dull shape before gluing them all into place. Moving on to the helicopter part, I used a couple of Kinder eggs that I'm going to stick underneath the wings to look like storage containers. To make this bit that I'm sticking on, it was 2 sweet containers stuck to the plastic ball you get inside a can of Guinness, which is called a widget. I'm not sure if my American viewers have this version of a can of Guinness over there. Leave a comment and let me know please, because it'll be interesting to see if you do have the Guinness with the widget inside. But that's what that ball is. It's called a widget, and once you open it up, it froths everything up and makes the Guinness, well, taste like Guinness. And that's a nice little segue into today's mystery code, which is Soylent Green. So remember, if you're going to leave a comment, put that before the comment so I know you watched this and just didn't fast forward all the way to the end to see the glamour shots. It was time to think about sticking the top part onto Red's bottom part, so I just messed about a little bit and then decided it should go like this. I felt Red needed another container just for some more sort of like visual purposing, so I used this sweet container. There's a lot of sweet containers, and believe you me, I did not go through all these sweets just to get these containers. Just want to put that out there. These were from a toy that I made into my Riff Raff video. If you've not seen it yet, check it out. These are the most bizarrest things I've ever come across. There is a tiny figure amongst all that goo. I'm not getting into it fully as I hate touching this gooey stuff, but believe you me, there is a figure in there. It's totally bizarre. Without going into much detail, it just feels like sick. Not that I want to purposely touch sick, but it just doesn't feel right. It's just awful. So yeah, anyway, that's going back in the container. Red needed an eye to obviously see from, so I used a sticky gem for that, before sticking the sweet container onto his main body. Using magnets I'd pre-glued onto the sweet tube and the goo containers, I was able to counterbalance Red, as his back end seemed to be heavier than his front end. I added more goo containers as I thought while he was out sucking all the life force from the ground, the ooze could be in the containers making the clone people. For the Hoover pipe thing that Red will be sucking the life force from everything, I used this fidget toy I love to hate, which it's going to be perfect because it's flexible enough to get into those places you just want to get into. So I had to add two together as Red was a little bigger than I'd first planned. I'd been using baking soda on this build, and it left my workbench looking like Tony Montana's kitchen table. So a quick wipe down before the cops come knocking on the front door asking what this powder was, and then I attached the pipe to Red's body. Okay, I put my big boy pants on for this bit. I'm going to use some kitchen towel, and I'm just going to get all this oozy stuff out to show you that there's an actual figure inside this toy. And I've never seen them on the shelves in proper shops apart from cheapo shops, and I'm kind of guessing this is a choke hazard, because look at how small that little toy is. It's just no, I've got to. Oh. After having packed up all the goo, Red was done. He was all greebled up and he was on to get primed. So I did a rattle can of black, and then, yes, you guessed right, I've been calling him Red all the time, and you've seen it in the thumbnail. I'm going to use red for the main colour. This is a new paint that I'm using. Not quite sure about it. It leaves the paint a little bit gritty and takes ages to dry, even if I'm using Jeff the hairdryer. But look, it was cheap and cheerful for some paints, and I ain't rich, so these paints will do. I went over red twice, leaving enough time in between coats for the first coat to dry. I left certain areas patchy so you could see the black coming through, just so it give it that little bit of wear and tear, looking like it was dirty and it'd been out in the sun for an awful long time. I painted the pipe, his shins and the back stabilizers all white, just to sort of like give it a little bit of colour variance. I'm still not adventurous as much as I'd like to be with the colours, but I'm slowly getting there. Now for this part, I'd waited until everything had dried and then hit it with some yacht varnish before this next bit, where I like to affectionately call bird poo markings. The reason why I'd put the yacht varnish on was to protect the paintwork and all the little decals that I'd put on before that, because once I start using this thinner on the paint dots that I'm put on, I didn't want everything to be stripped off. For the stain effect, I just used white, black and sand coloured paint, just dotted them all the way around the body, and then just with a little bit of thinner on the brush, I just did the little brush strokes that you can see here, just to melt everything into sort of like one effect. And then if it looks too much, then you just use a bit more thinner just to thin it out until you get the desired look that you're looking for. Look at me sounding all professional. To hide anything that I didn't like, I just used a bit of weathering powder and just went in and just weathered it up a little bit more with the powder, and Red, my ooze collecting drone, was done. So I guess all that's left for me to say is thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you all so very much, and until next time, keep keep scratching that build, everybody. Thanks for watching.